After being released from prison, drug kingpin Frank White reasserts his power. Listen as we chat about the lamest Larry ever, a gangster buying tampons in a pre-self-checkout world, and DEI in criminal organizations. Then we see if 1990's King of New York stands the test of time.
It's the test of time, come on, let's check it. Test of time, what do Ellen and James gotta say? All these old movies, what do they think? Do they still make it all the way to the front of your brain? Come on, what you grew up on, what you swore was gold, worn out VHS, all those stories you were told, posters on the wall, lines you still repeat. But nostalgia hits heavy, does it land on his feet? Everybody's got opinions, everybody's gotta take time, pulls the curtain back, see what still plays, what still hits, what falls behind. Spin the tape back, let the record rewind. James and Allen in the frame, yeah, press play, no mercy for the classics, no free pass, okay? Come on, baby, don't be a hater, does the movie still hold up today? Everybody knows James, can't say gladiator, it's the test of time. James and Allen gonna tell you straight, come on, baby, do the movies that you love, do they hold up today? Do they hold up today? Do they hold up today?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Test of Time. And joining me is the king of this podcast, Alan Noah.
Aww.
How you doing, Al?
I am doing very well, thank you. Hey, if I'm the king of this podcast, then that makes you, what's the opposite of a king? No, I'm kidding. Are we both kings? We could be two kings? Like the Tenacious D song? We'll lead as two kings.
There's never been a kingdom that suffered by trying to have two rulers at once.
You're the history buff. I'll take your word for that.
Have you ever heard of the triumvirate of Rome when they tried splitting the Roman Empire into three? It didn't work out for two of them.
Oh, okay. Well, we're here today to talk about King of New York, starring Christopher Walken. I had never seen this movie before. Had you?
No, I'd never seen this film. I had kind of heard of it. I knew it was made by this eccentric guy, Abel Ferrara. He's the writer.
He's a director. It was written by Nicholas St. John.
Directed by, Star Christopher Walken. Also popping in there, Wesley Snipes and David Caruso. They were both surprises.
A young Giancarlo Esposito, Steve Buscemi. The cast in this movie is insane. Larry Fishburne, not Lawrence Fishburne, which was surprising when I saw that in the credits because I love Lawrence Fishburne and I think of him as Lawrence. And when I hear the name Larry, I think of Cousin Larry from Perfect Strangers, who was a nerdy white guy, pretty much the polar opposite of Larry Fishburne's character in this movie, Jimmy Jump. He seems like more of a Lawrence than a Larry, I think.
I agree with he seems more like a Lawrence than a Larry, but I disagree with you that when I think of Al and I think of Larry, I think of something very different because I've been to many, many Mets games with you. And for years, I was next to you as you would just scream, Larry. You were referring to Atlanta Braves pitcher?
Not a pitcher. Chipper Jones, he insists that everyone calls him Chipper, but his real name is Larry, not Lawrence. It's the opposite. His name is not Lawrence, and he goes by Larry. His name is Larry, and he goes by Chipper, which makes no fucking sense, and he was really, really good against the Mets, so fuck that guy. But yeah, I mean, Larry is just not as cool of a name as Lawrence.
Right.
But for anyone who hasn't seen King of New York, it's about Frank White, a ruthless drug lord played by Christopher Walken. After he's released from prison, Frank sets out to reclaim control of New York's underworld. He recruits criminals for his crew, ruthlessly eliminates rival gangs with his volatile right-hand man Jimmy Jump, and claims he wants to use his profits to fund a hospital in a low-income neighborhood. As a group of relentless police officers close in, Frank's empire begins to unravel, resulting in the death of all those who pursue and work with the so-called King of New York. So how did this movie do at the box office when it came out, James?
Well, you hadn't seen this before. I hadn't seen this before. And it turns out a lot of people did not see this when this film was released in September 28th, 1990. It was a very low-budget film, $5 million. You don't have to sell too many tickets to make your money back. And this movie only grossed about half the budget, about $2.6 million. So, yeah, this was not a moneymaker for the producer and really any of the people involved.
Gotcha. Well, this movie does have two very notable fans. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Okay, one is Quentin Tarantino. He gushes about this movie. He was on the Rewatchables talking about it, and it kind of makes sense that Tarantino would love this movie because it is, I would say, light on plot and heavy on violence. Tarantino talks about how this movie is incredibly influential and amazing, and it's criminal how it was not really appreciated when it first came out. The other person who loved King of New York is Notorious B.I.G. He referred to himself as Frank White. It's in Hypnotize, The What, a couple other songs. He calls himself the Black Frank White.
I'd seen that reference, that this film is referenced in rap songs.
It is. And, you know, in that first scene with Walken, when he's coming out of prison and he is in the limo just driving around the city, he really doesn't blink much. There are a lot of close-ups on his face and his eyes are open. Creepily so. I'm guessing that's deliberate so that, you know, he just looks really intimidating.
He is intimidating in this entire film. He's just always business, business. But there's one part when he meets Lawrence Fishburne's crew. They're in the Plaza Hotel, and Christopher Walken's with this beautiful woman he presumably just slept with, and they're having this stare down. And suddenly Frank White goes into this dance number.
Right.
It's just really you didn't know which way it was going. Was there going to be another shootout? And that's the only time this character makes any expression.
I wonder if Fatboy Slim saw this and then wanted Christopher Walken for the Weapon of Choice video where he dances all around the hotel.
It is kind of that Weapon of Choice dance. Just visually one of the coolest music videos ever.
Yeah. But let's kind of dissect some of the plot in this movie, because in one of the first scenes, you have Jimmy Jump, played by Larry Fishburne, who is with this guy, King Tito, and they're making a deal about cocaine. And then, no, it's not really a deal. It's a setup. And they kill King Tito and all of the guys there. Then later on in the movie, there's a scene where Frank tells one of his lawyers to go meet with a mafia boss, Artie Clay, and they're going to make a deal. And Artie Clay doesn't like Frank White. And then Frank White shows up there and he's like, let's make a deal. Let's work together. And he says, no. And then Frank White kills him. And then there's another scene where he meets with the leader of the triads. He's like, hey, let's make a deal. We'll work together. Guess what happens? Frank and his crew kill all of the triads. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And I get it. He's a crime boss. That's kind of what they do. But I was just bored that it kept happening. You know, by the third time, I'm like, oh, maybe this is the guy he is going to make a deal with. Nope. Then there's the deal that goes bad that the cops arrange. Once again, you're like, oh, these guys are making a deal. But then it turns out, you know, it was all set up and the cops come in shooting everybody. That's a little bit different. But even still, at its core, it's the same thing. Hey, let's make a deal. We're going to work together. Great. Really excited to work with you. Boom, 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 boom. And everyone gets killed. I found that very repetitive, frustratingly so.
I thought he's just trying to kill everyone. I really thought he's really just trying to make fake deals with all three of these rival gangs so that he could just kill them all.
Really? Even with the triads? It seemed like he wanted to make a deal with that guy.
Maybe. I wasn't sure. Did the triad guy then double cross him?
No, he insulted him. He was like, talking to you, I realize that you're crazy. And having seen a million movies like this, you don't insult the crime boss and tell him he's crazy, even if he is crazy.
Right.
I kind of wasn't sure if maybe Frank was going to let that slide because, yeah, he knows he's a little crazy and this guy's telling it like it is and maybe he'll respect him for it. Nope. After they kill all the triads, they take their drugs. So then, cool, yeah, they have the drugs, but also don't they need more guys to distribute it?
Yeah, you know, there's a couple things about that. I'm not sure about the other mob boss, the one that he sends his lawyer to. And
the mafia guy?
Yeah, that guy. I thought that guy, he was trying to make a legitimate deal with him. That didn't go right, but I thought the other ones, like the one that Larry Fishburne kills in the beginning. But that scene I want to talk to you about, because there's certain things that are like badass to do in a film and other things that are kind of like do you really do it in real life? Like, there's a really cool, badass scene when they first kill this first drug dealer, and the drug dealer thinks that he's going to open a briefcase full of either cocaine or money, whatever. It's going to be some bad guy stuff in there. And instead, he opens it up, and it's full of Tampax tampons.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the hell's this? Fishburne's like, it's for the bullet holes. And then boom, 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 they kill them all. That's kind of badass. It is. But here's the thing, like, you're just going to kill the guy anyway. Like,
right.
Did you really go and buy a briefcase and then go to CVS or something and then buy like 6 boxes of tampons? And this is presumably some kind of a tough guy. I mean, good for you. You're buying tampons. But the guy's going to be dead in a second. Why go through all of that? And then you're just going to kill him. It seems more for the benefit of the people behind the camera. The reason is, honestly, because it's a movie. That's why you're killing him that way.
I would say the in-universe explanation is that it's for the story after. So that way, Jimmy Jump can tell the other guys, man, when he opened that suitcase and he saw all the tampons, he was like, what? That's why he was doing it. You know, it is kind of funny to imagine him walking into a store and buying lots and lots and lots of tampons. This movie takes place in 1990, many years before self-checkout. If it's self-checkout, it's a little bit less embarrassing.
Less embarrassing for that tough guy. That's right.
Exactly.
You know, something else in this film about these criminals, there's this sort of subplot that Frank's really interested in this hospital that's going to be closing in their neighborhood.
Right.
And they're going to open up a new one in a fancy and a rich neighborhood. You know, this guy who doesn't care about killing men and women and everything, he must make sure the hospital's there. I do get it's not a hypocritical. I think it's a moral code he has.
Yeah.
Because there's another scene with, I just got to call him Larry Fishburne.
Yeah.
He's in this diner. There's these little kids trying to play the Pac-Man machine or something. And the pizza guy is like, stop banging on the machine. You have no money. Get away from there.
It's chicken. Not pizza.
Yeah, fine. The chicken shop. And Larry's like, no. And he not only gives the kids quarters, like, good for you, giving the guys some money. Do you notice what he hands the old their mother or grandma? She presumably seems a little older. He hands her $100 bill.
Right.
And that's 1990 $100 bill. Right after that, the cops come in and bust him, and right there, the mom's like, come here, kids, like, hug her right when the cops come in. But she knows exactly where this money is coming from.
Right.
I enjoy that part of films. I'm not saying I agree with the criminal, but I like when at least there's at least they think that they're a good person. And I think that's an important thing to put in a characterization.
I get that. And I do think that Larry Fishburne is really kind of weirdly charming in this movie, considering he's a guy who just kills people left and right. Like, he refers to himself as a drug dealer, and one of the other guys is like, you're not a drug dealer, you kill people. And then he's like, well, shit, I'm unemployed because there's no one left to kill. And he laughs about it. And that's fucked up and evil, but he does have personality and you enjoy watching him. He is also a hip hop gangster. To be clear, I'm not saying that because he's black. Like, he is dressed like one of the guys from Run DMC. And he carries himself with so much swagger. And I do also think it's interesting that Frank White is white and he works with a lot of black people. I feel like that's against the trope of a lot of these crime movies where everyone who works in this one criminal organization, it's all Italians, or it's all Irish guys, or it's all black guys. I mean, DEI has become a bad word over the past couple of years. And like, the argument for it in a corporate world, it's not even just the moral thing to do, the right thing to do, the ethical thing to do. Like, it helps businesses. You know, like, there are studies that if you have a lot of people from different backgrounds on your team, you make more money because you can solve problems better. And I can kind of see that even in a criminal organization, right? If you have a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, that might just make you more profitable, more terrifying and, you know, more vicious, but you might just be better at being criminals if you've got some white guys and some black guys and some Italian guys and some Asian guys, which is why I thought that Frank wasn't going to kill everyone in those other scenes. I thought maybe he wanted to expand his network.
You have something there because if you're going to be the king of New York, you're not just going to be the king of the Italians and the king of
Yeah.
the black population. It did seem like he was forming that. Actually, my favorite scene in this whole movie, there's a scene in a subway. Frank is with he's with his woman.
One of his lawyers.
Yeah, one of his lawyers. He's about to get jumped on the subway, but he flashes a gun so that they back off a little. But then Frank's like, hey, wait a second. And he tosses him a wad of money. And he's like, I have work for you. Come to the Plaza Hotel and ask for Frank White.
The leader of that group is Harold Perrineau from Lost, Oz, The Matrix.
Right. That's a great scene. And his group definitely is diversified. He also doesn't discriminate who he will kill.
Sure. But I also wanted to go back to the hospital thing because that was confusing. So Frank wants to save this hospital. There's like a dinner scene and he's talking about how he wants to be mayor. And he kind of goes after the current mayor because the current mayor is going to shut down this hospital. And he's saying it's the right thing to do to save this hospital because it's in a low income neighborhood and we can't only have hospitals for the rich people in New York. And that's all great and noble and wonderful. I wasn't totally sure if he was being genuinely altruistic, if he really wanted to do good, if he was kind of looking at it as a PR stunt so that he could do something positive or so that he could do all of the shitty drug deals, but then have a good public facing image with the hospital. Was the hospital a front for money laundering? I wasn't really clear about what his true motivations were. And I think that kind of comes back to the stoicism of Christopher Walken, talking about how he doesn't blink and stuff. He's been in prison for a long time. The movie opens with him getting released from Sing Sing. I just didn't understand how that experience changed him. Did it change him? Did it make him want to be a good person? Was he doing that kind of thing before he went to prison, where he was trying to be an upstanding person publicly, but a criminal in the shadows? I felt like none of that was really explained or explored.
I think it's ambiguous. My personal opinion is that he did believe it.
That he was doing a good thing by saving the hospital?
Right. And I think that there's this weird code.
At the end of the movie, when Frank is talking to Bishop, the head cop, he says that he has done good because one of the guys he took out was making his own people pay way too much in rent. He was a slumlord. And one of the guys was sex trafficking.
Trafficking minors, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's getting rid of the scum of New York. He's doing what the cops can't. So yes, he has a code. Okay, but then he's going to pump drugs into the streets, which is going to create more destitute people who can't afford housing. It's going to encourage people to turn to sex trafficking. So he is clearly part of the problem. And if he believes that that's okay for some reason, fine. But I did then kind of want Bishop to call him out on his bullshit and say, you're no better. How is doing what you're doing okay? And I think that Frank White's motivations are ambiguous and his role is kind of underwritten. Bishop is very underwritten. I think Caruso and Snipes, as the other cops, they have more real animosity towards Frank White and you feel their anger. Bishop is just kind of like a nothing burger. And to put it in video game terms, he's kind of like the final boss for Frank White. And I think that moment should have been impactful of Frank talking about his motivations and his code, and it just kind of fell flat for me.
You're right. Yeah, fine. You don't directly trick out 14-year-olds, but you are doing the stuff where you will make someone pay their gambling debt so that they have to go into prostitution.
Yeah.
If you're selling 101 feet away from a school, like the kids will just move 101 feet away from school if they want the drugs.
Right.
Like on paper, you sound better, but you're not any better.
Sure. I think the movie is trying to say something there, and I just don't feel like it lands. I think the movie's also trying to make a statement about the cops and the criminals, right? That maybe Frank, with his hospital donation, maybe he's not so bad. And the cops who are going around the law to execute Frank and his guys, they're bad. It's like the cops are just as bad as the criminals, and maybe the criminals are maybe better than the cops. And, like Frank is a white guy surrounded by black guys. And then you have Wesley Snipes, who's the only black cop surrounded by white guys. By the way, did you notice that Wesley Snipes' character's name is Flanagan, a very Irish name? So there's juxtaposition that they're going for, and I get it and I understand it, but it feels empty. It feels hollow. Like, knowing that Tarantino loves this movie, I feel like, okay, yeah, sure, because what the movie is kind of saying is that the cops and the criminals, they're not all that different, but it's way more fun being a bad guy, because we see them having fun and partying and dancing with the girls and the drugs. And there's a scene of the wedding where Caruso gives the awkward speech, and it just kind of seems like no one's really having much fun at the wedding. So I get it. I get what the movie's going for, but it just kind of all felt surface level to me.
You could summarize the plot of this film like we did in about 4 or 5 sentences.
Right.
Then there's just a lot of action scenes filling in those areas. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you're right that the plot is pretty thin.
Also, the big shootout and car chase scene, I would guess that they spend most of their budget there. And I think it's supposed to be really thrilling and exciting, but I just found it confusing. It's really dark. It's hard to tell who's driving when they showed the different shots. I'm like, wait, is that Frank in that car? Is that Caruso? Who's driving? Who's shooting at who? A lot of that was filmed on sound stages, and they weren't filming in the rain. They were just dumping buckets of water on the cars. It just kind of looks sloppy. I found it hard to follow.
I thought it was fine and chaotic. I agree with you. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but then again, in like car chases, sometimes it's hard to follow it. But you're right in that they didn't have 2 distinct cars.
The stunt double for Christopher Walken also looks nothing like Christopher Walken, which makes it more confusing.
I didn't notice that, but it's not that exciting. It's not as exciting as a later Jerry Bruckheimer car chase scenes, but it is what it is.
After the car chase scene, Caruso kills Jimmy Jump. And so Frank kills Caruso at the funeral for Wesley Snipes' character, Flanagan. And I was wondering if this is a test of time thing, because in the movie, at that police funeral, there are, I would say, dozens of cops, which makes it incredibly bold that Frank would drive up to Caruso and, shotgun him in the face. I feel like now at a cop funeral, it's not dozens of cops, it's hundreds and hundreds of cops. And I could believe that maybe a bad guy could show up and maybe get one lucky shotgun blast off, but I don't think that you could get away with it. I think that would be the last thing you'd ever do.
You're exactly right. Today, they would have emptied their magazines. There's no way you would have gotten away, because even if you didn't kill them, they would have been on the lookout for a bullet-ridden limousine that's in the suburban New Jersey.
Sure.
Like Queens, wherever it was.
Yeah, like Frank kills Caruso, and then the next scene, he's going after the lawyer who betrayed him to the cops. Like, he gets away clean after that killing, and I'm like, no. Again, maybe it's a test of time thing. Maybe in 1990, cop funerals were different, but now that would not happen.
I really was wondering, like, shouldn't they have shown some kind of clever, like, oh, he escapes into a tunnel and there's like 5 cars that just look just like his, and that's why he gets away with it. But
maybe.
I was like, it's a graveyard. Like, this is 15 acres of like open land.
Yeah. But James, let me ask you about King of New York as a whole. Do you think this movie stands a test of time?
I noticed in this film, the editing, they would be talking or there'd be music and then just like, there's no transition. There'd be like an abrupt change of scene. So that definitely took me out of this film. But overall, it's not a really good film. I kind of feel like there's a decent film in here if you edited it a little bit better. Because I think all the performances are fine. I think the plot, as thin as it is, It's good enough. It's a typical Scarface kind of rise and fall of a bad guy. And, you should kind of have a fall at the end. It's not one of those real crazy films where the bad guy gets away with it at the end. Nah, they're not doing that kind of thing. I just wasn't that entertained. Is this a terrible film? No. Do I understand why people gush about it? No, but I don't quite understand the impact of the cop subplot, but I can tell that there's a lot more to it than what I got. So I'm not arguing against people liking this film. I'm not like, are you serious? You think this film's amazing? What? For me, though, there's so many better films than this that kind of go with this. The criminal that rise and fall, and he thinks he's doing a little philanthropic stuff, and he's going to give out food to the poor people in the neighborhood. And there's cops that kind of are willing to cross a line to get their criminal. I've seen this film before and this story before. I just think I've seen it better in other films. So overall for me, no. The King of New York does not stand the test of time. But what do you think, Al? Does King of New York stand the test of time?
I don't think so. I agree with you. I found this movie to be not at all entertaining, which is shocking considering the cast, considering the talent on screen, the fact that it is just so dull and lifeless and repetitive, and it dips its toe into these bigger themes of race and class and public image and who really has power in New York and how they get the power in New York, and good guys being just as bad as bad guys and bad guys being just as bad as good guys and blah 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 blah. It all just feels really superficial. At first, this movie was supposed to be longer, I think over 2 hours, maybe close to 2.5 hours. And it was given an X rating because it was too violent and they had to cut down a lot. I also just wonder if they maybe just cut some plot, some scenes with dialogue that would have explained things better, that would have set up these characters, that would have made the story feel richer and more full of life. But yeah, I feel like you're introduced to a character and then they're killed. I really wasn't emotionally connected to anyone. This is a kind of movie that I think might lend itself really well to a show format, like doing a couple seasons on a streamer where you could really get to know these characters and really get to know the different gangs and their interplay and how they work and how they don't work. And you have time to get to know these people. And then when someone dies, you feel it. But I was surprised at how bored I was for a movie that is so filled with shootouts. I really was just not impressed. So I'm going to say that the movie does not stand the test of time. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Next week, in honor of Memorial Day, we're going to be talking about Platoon, the 1986 movie directed by Oliver Stone. I've never seen it. I know it's about Vietnam, but I'm looking forward to that. In the meantime, we want to hear from you. We are at Test of Time Pod on Facebook, X, Instagram, and Threads. Write to us. Let us know your thoughts on King of New York, on Christopher Walken, on Larry Fishburne, or you can call him Lawrence Fishburne. That's fine too. Wesley Snipes, David Caruso, cops and criminals, bad guys who want to save hospitals, whatever. We love hearing from you, and we'll see you next time, everybody.
Bye.